Morning. Welcome to the David Washington's famous "You Can't Make This Shit Up."
Cannot make this shit up.
Okay, so you're on. This is Jessie Phillips. Now, Jessie Phillips is the state committee man for the entire county of Seminole. So,
All right.
Not just part of it.
all of
the
it,
whole thing.
every single bit of it, just
Even
like
the parts that want me or don't want me.
There you go.
As we'll talk about.
So, David Washington is our co-host, and I'm Joel Hoxley. But
Welcome, Jessie.
we
Thank
are.
you.
Good
Thanks
to
for
have
having
you.
me. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you knew where. Did you find the Oxford? Okay.
It was very secret,
Yes, the secret.
but I
Society.
did find it. I finally
Okay.
found it.
Well-
The big elephant over here makes me, as your Republican state committee man, feel very much at home.
The Republican State Committee man. David, I was just noticing how I did you a disservice in the intros because every time you appear with the Republican. But you can't make this shit
No,
up.
no, I noticed that. I noticed that from the get go, and it's. I privately say to myself, I'm sending the message
But
to.
It's
I
you
was
can't
going to
make
say,
this
I
shit
feel
up.
like I'm being set up now. Right?
No. It's just that we do work with everyone on the political spectrum, and our motto is, our vision, our mission is to bring the best people forward with the best ideas for their community.
Well, and the issues we're going to be talking about today are issues that are cross party lines.
Correct.
I mean, we're talking about community issues, which affects you whether you're a Republican, Democrat, or otherwise.
That's true. That's very true.
So when I moved into Seminole County, everybody brags about Winter Springs, and you got Tuscaloosa. Everybody knows Winter Springs and Tuscaloosa. Winter Springs, Tuscaloosa.
Sure.
So if you live up here, you know that area. However, did you happen to know that Winter Springs is more residential than commercial? Even
Okay.
though there's a bunch of commercial property that have Winter Springs in their address.
Okay.
So their tax revenue comes directly from the people and not business.
92% residential.
Really?
Yeah,
It's-
it should
it's
be
a-
about 50-50.
Right.
And forgive me, I live in Orange County, and the only work that I've done in Seminole County is political work, and also, coming here to the Oxford and other establishments, business establishments. Seminole County is lovely,
If
but
you drive down Redbug Lake Road, you see all these commercial subdivisions that have Winter Springs on the name, but they're in unincorporated Seminole County
really,
because
okay.
of where the gerrymandered lines have been drawn to exclude all of these businesses.
So
Oh,
so a common municipality, to make its taxes fair to its citizens, typically will bring in business
Mhm.
and have that business, pay certain taxes that help offset the residents. So 92% of the burden on taxes come from the people. So and all these
Wow.
businesses are giving it to the county
correct.
and not the city.
Wow.
So when we say that, this is the stuff. When you say you can't make this shit up,
Right.
everybody loves Winter Springs.
It's
But
a great community.
But nobody
It's
knows.
beautiful.
Nobody
It is
knows how much the tax burden is on the people.
Yeah.
And so when you have an issue like Jesse's been taken care of, and I say Jesse and Ken Greenberg and some very, very active members in the community
Right.
have been trying to do everything about, hey, our water and everything else. So I had to have Jesse come because Jesse needs to tell us about this upside down, beautiful community, because it's a beautiful community.
It is.
But
it
it's-
is.
We love
You
it.
can't make the shit up, but he's going to tell you today.
Well, let's
so-
hear it. Let's jump in.
I mean, where do we start? I mean, so we probably back in 2018 or 2019, my wife and two of my kids started to experience some persistent health issues. Nothing life-threatening, but there were some internal pains that my wife was having for about 8 straight months, just never went away. And then some eczema-like symptoms on my kids' hands. My daughter had these deep red bruises on her elbows and knees that would be inflamed every time she jumped in the pool or took a bath. And she would cry during bath time. And
Wow.
so again, as a parent, in the course of everyday life, you're just dealing with stuff and not making connections that you should probably make. And we thought it was dietary. So I remember the weeks that we would spend looking at her public shopping list, trying to figure out, okay, what can we remove? Is it gluten? I mean, what is it that is causing this issue? And so over the course of 8 months, we troubleshooted, the health issues. And, I remember the day that my wife said, all of these issues started when we moved into the city of Winter Springs, because we'd moved in 2017 in July. And it was one of those, the light went on kind of moments. Sure. And I thought, okay, well, the only things different about the environment have to be like air quality or water. It didn't seem like an air quality issue. So I said, all right, let's just stop drinking the city water and see what happens. So we started driving out to my in-laws' farm in Chiliota and literally taking milk cartons, talking about shit you can't make up. We're driving right from Winter Springs to Chiliota with milk cartons, empty milk cartons, filling up with water on my in-laws' well as a source of drinking water. Wow. And so the pain that my wife felt for 8 straight months, because she homeschools so my kids are at home all day. They're not at school, and she doesn't work, so they're at home all day. Okay. And within a couple of days, her persistent pain that she had been feeling for 8 straight months went away.
Wow.
And had not returned. And it took a little bit longer for some of the skin issues on the kids. It was a couple weeks. The pain that she felt only came back about a week later when she slipped up and actually accidentally took a drink of the water, and it flared up again. To this day, every several months, she'll start to feel that pain, and then we have to go flip out our water filters.
Right.
So her body is
very
literally
sensitive.
the mechanism that tells us it's time to flip the water filters.
Wow.
That we did, because we did a bunch of stuff with filtration to try to get it under control, and then started the Winter Springs Water Quality Initiative, and started trying to advocate on this issue.
How far have you gone in regards to learning what the problem was, or what's in the water?
I mean, we've made every public records request for testing results. We've looked at the EPA drinking water reports, found that in 7 of the last 8 annual water reports, there have been violations of TTHM, which is the chemical byproduct of chlorine. It's a carcinogen that is in the water because you're putting chlorine, and it's the chemical reaction to that. It causes cancer. You have to get it under control, and there's a reason why the EPA mandates that. And then coliform is another one, and some other corrosive things in each of 7 of the last 8, because the city's required to put out an annual water report.
Okay.
And with these findings that can either be individual test violations or what's called a MCL, more of a system-wide failure. Some of both of those have been found in virtually all of the last 8 years of reports.
So you speak about this initiative. Did you have neighbors or friends in one?
Oh yeah. So one of the first things we found was that they went out and brought in to manage the water system, because it's hard to keep employees. I mean, this is very specialized.
Wait, you got to pay attention. This is the best part.
Right. I just think average citizen, I'm going to go to the city. My commissioners are going to be like, of course, well, let's help you. This is an issue we can all agree on.
Right.
They started calling me out publicly, and then they really got upset when we looked at one of the agenda items on their meeting and found that they were bringing in this company to manage the water system called Veolia. And a simple Google search of the name Veolia showed that this is the group that was being sued by the Attorney General of the state of Michigan.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
You see where this is going?
Yes, I do.
Michigan.
Oh, no.
What big water issue happened in Michigan?
Not Flint, right?
Right. Yes. Flint, Michigan.
Oh, no.
They lied to the public. There was one of the suits was dropped. The other suits, class action, still pending against all of these contractors that were involved up there. And the role that this particular group allegedly played was to come in and try to handle some things and then used as a cover to make some misleading statements to the public on behalf of the municipality there as to what the real issue was. And this is who we're hiring to run our Winter Springs water system.
So you're saying that you and your group of concerned citizens, you go there to the city, and in response, you get basically, well, we'll put this forward, but we're going to get the worst company in the entire world to even look at it.
All I can say is we started paying very close attention to everything that they were doing.
There you go.
They tried to do this. They tried to do it at a workshop. This is a $17 million contract over 5 years that they did as part of a workshop without any bids.
David, we're in the wrong business.
By the way, when the mayor was out of town, the mayor was gone.
Oh, wow.
He literally was out of town. And because the mayor and commissioner, this was Mayor Charles Lacey at the time. So the mayor and commissioner were not getting along. Because of issues like this, he was the one voice of reason. So the commissioner's there at the time. He's gone. Let's try to get this through when he's gone. So we showed up with the Orlando Sentinel and another countywide elected official at that meeting, and they stopped the meeting. The representatives from Veolia left in anger. They eventually tried to get it through and did get it through a more legitimate process. Although, I mean, once the cat's out of the bag, I mean, what contractor is going to come in and put out a bid if they already know that you tried to give it to these people and they're writing the request for quote and everything else.
Right.
So, I mean, it was fixed, but we at least stopped them at that point. But it went through, and now we have the Flint, Michigan Water Company running the utility, and and running it into the ground.
Did the initiative look into any connections that maybe the city commissioners had with this particular company? That's
something we believe may be looked at by the Auditor General as well.
Yeah. Now that's another thing. So I want you to cover that. I know you're Orange County, but the city of Winter Springs has got 2 audits that have been called for. One from the state and one from what's the other one?
Clerk Malloy,
the clerk,
Seminole County
Seminole
Court and Comptroller.
Okay. So tell us about those.
So in January, New Year's Day of 2021, I started getting all these reports that they're dumping sewage into a pond in Winter Springs. And of course, you hear something like that and you're like, well, they can't make this shit up. They're not dumping shit into the pond. I mean, that would be beyond the pale. And so I just kind of wrote it off. But then we started hearing these news reports that in this pond, all these fish died. Thousands of fish died. The whole area stunk to high heavens. Eagles were seen coming, endangered species were seen picking up fish, carrying them, and then dropping them in mid-flight back to their nest. And it was endangering the wildlife. And I was like, what? Tell me this is not happening. Tell me this is not happening. What ended up happening was this Veolia company was operating that wastewater treatment plant nearby without even the schematics of the plant. There was a valve that they did not know existed that had broken, that was flooding water, wastewater, sewage into this partially treated, into this pond, killed the fish. It actually took the mayor, again, Lacey at the time, this is right before he resigned because he was so fed up with the fact that the city was sending him out to giving him bad information to talk to the press about. He had to call a former employee of the city that even knew where this valve was. Nobody operating the city, nobody at Veolia even had the schematics of the plant. And so on November 29th, as early as November 29th, residents started complaining about this. City did nothing. It wasn't until January 1st, all the fish died. Now it's got everybody's attention. So these audits and investigations all kind of stem from that because the DEP came in, found that this Veolia contractor had not been sending proper test results to the state. Wow. We have testimony from the person operating the plant at the time, who is no longer with Veolia, but was, saying that the supervisors will come in and move the logbooks around. They were making him test water that wasn't even being sent back out through the system. So they bring water in, they just keep testing it and keep testing the same water, falsifying test results. And this whole thing led to a larger investigation that the state now has into the entire operation of the city
Oh,
under then city manager, who's since resigned as these audits got underway.
wow.
Well, you can't make this shit up.
You just
You-
can't. This is my father was a chemist. He's retired. He's passed away. It's been about 9 years for the Chicago Metropolitan Water Reclamation District.
Okay.
So a lot of the water
Wow.
issue that you're talking about, I'm familiar with, and to hear this malfeasance, this
That's not too strong a word.
yes.
Corruption is the one I choose to go with.
I
but
would
yeah.
think so,
Yeah.
and this lack of responsibility. I'm going straight back to the commission. Are the people who get granted a contract to this company to treat the water? Are they still on this commission?
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of go on to this election. So we had two very qualified appointed commissioners in Winter Springs. One had just gotten appointed, and the other had gotten appointed several months, I would assume, beforehand. And they were doing a great job. They were paying attention. They were trying to bring things in. They wanted to get some business in there. This is when I started to actually take notice of Winter Springs, because I never knew about the 92% and all this stuff. But these commissioners were very open and very, they talked about a lot of stuff. But then these three, how do you put it? Like the three musketeers, they came along and they, convinced the people that they needed to put in, cannon and, as one of them, even, you can't make this shit up. One of them, VA husband running in default of their, I mean, like anybody would say, wait a minute, why would I put somebody who's in default of their mortgage in charge of my taxes? But listen, that's when I started to say, you can't make this shit up. But they elected him. And then all of a sudden you have an am I using the right word? Incooperative commission. And the only one left was, like he said, the mayor. And the mayor has
Who
to work
doesn't
with
have a vote on anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the mayor's more of a figurehead, Queen of England
Okay.
kind of position in Winter Springs.
Yeah. So it's like now you have a commission that ran together, stick together, and whoever's the lead in this group, and this is just speculation too, but they're benefiting somewhere along the line because they're even trying to squash free speech.
Well, whether they're benefiting or not financially, they've made an ideological decision to ignore and to take the posture that everything that we're saying is completely false and politically motivated, which I kind of understand because I am very connected politically. So I think they made that assumption. But at some point, when you have the DEP coming back and saying, hey, we found 24 violations, at that point you have to think, okay, maybe this wasn't politically motivated.
Right. There's nothing political about that.
But they never made that adjustment.
But you even told them it was family. It was family started. You
Exactly.
told them.
Oh,
you told them
I was lying about that.
that you told them,
Yeah.
look, my family is suffering. I want action taken. It
Right. wasn't
like you came in and said, as the state committee man for the Republican Party,
Right.
I think
Jesse,
you're all Democrats.
Right. Exactly.
When were the last elections?
So
for
in this
Winter
past election cycle, in 2022, there were two of the voting commission seats up, and we removed two of the problematic commissioners.
Springs? Okay.
And we now have, but the problem is it's still a 3-2 split. So the mayor's not counted in the voting of the 5. So there's 5 commissioners. It was basically 5 against us. Now there's 3 against us. So
Okay.
we have some people now who are speaking as a voice of reason, but still don't have the votes to actually make the changes that are probably needed. And then he mentioned the censorship that I just sent an email to the commission today where they are actually considering a ordinance or have scheduled a workshop to tell these 2 newly elected commissioners that they basically putting a gag order on them from going out and trying to
Really?
bring some of these businesses into the city.
Yeah. So
Wow.
so there's a 7-Eleven hidden in. I love 7-Eleven.
We don't talk about it because it's ours.
Like they're hidden everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But since it's a business that's actually in the city, the tax revenue is lost because they closed it down.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is a neighborhood, 7-Eleven.
Right.
It's right there. Hey, I'm going to the golf course. Hey, I can stop there. I can get something right next to some really nice restaurants. I mean,
Right. So Victoria Colangelo, one of the new commissioners, stated in a public meeting that she had some discussions with some of the people involved to try to get the 7-Eleven to reopen.
Sure.
And that led to a diatribe, for lack of a better word, against
Mhm.
her, because the mayor's feeling insecure because he's like, why aren't people coming and talking to me? It's like, well, maybe you should build the relationships that you need throughout the community so that people do go talk to you. People are going to Commissioner Resnick and Colangelo, the new people who are not part of this old regime, because they know that's how they're going to get something through and actually done, because these people are effective. And so in response to that, they've scheduled a workshop to try to prevent these two newly elected commissioners from talking to people to try to bring business into the city.
Preventing them to talk to their constituents.
They're not so much their constituents, but a prospective business owner,
Really?
who might want to open or reopen in an existing commercial space.
Are the commissioners elected at large, or
It's the whole
district?
city. Yeah, you have to live in your district, but all the voters of the city vote in all the commission seats.
And what was turnout like during the last election?
It was pretty high. As we all know, throughout the entire state, there was a lot of energy around the last election, and it was the statewide and national issues that kind of dictated the turnout. And there was a general sense of displeasure, for lack of a better word, in some of these pockets with some of these cities. So it really was a referendum, not only on some of the state and national issues, but we saw incredible turnout across the board in Winter Springs. I don't have the numbers in my head, but I remember thinking, wow, this is very good turnout. The kind of turnout you want to see if you're trying to change leadership. If it's low turnout, leadership tends to stay the same.
Right.
I felt very good about it the entire time.
Yeah, but it
based on
wasn't
the
over
turnout.
25% though, right?
Yeah, when I say high, I mean
No,
For
that's what I'm just
Right,
trying to clarify.
Yes,
that
it was
we always
deplorably
talk about
low when you really think about it.
Right, because that's what we always
By
talk
historical
about.
standards, it was actually pretty high.
So it was a good turnout for historical data. I just wanted to be clear on that, because you can't tell everybody enough. It's got to be the local politics. You got to know it. You got to vote. And when only 13% or only 10% of the community stepping up picks these people,
business as usual.
but you had good turnout. And the reason I say I know you had good turnout is you replaced.
Here's a sense of the
replaced.
energy. We sent out a petition at one point, and it was a petition to fight something the commission was doing. And in 2 days, I had over 1,000 petitions gathered. The total number of petitions that we gathered from Winter Springs residents just online using email blast was more people signed my petition than who voted in the off-year elections of the city of Lake Mary and Longwood during that cycle. Now, that means Lake Mary and Longwood had very low turnout, deplorably low turnout.
Sure.
But this is how energized the residents of Winter Springs were, that on an issue that we're just emailing them about, you have more people turning out to sign my petition online than who voted in some of these cities.
So until it personally affects a constituent or the possibility of any type of damage, whether to their homes or to their health or whatever, people are going to realize, oh, I need to do something.
I could care less about city politics before all this happened.
Right.
I thought, I didn't even realize when I first moved, because I moved from DC back in 2000.
Okay.
I didn't even realize we had cities in Seminole County, because you drive by Castleberry, I'm like, that's a city? I'm from DC. That's a city, right? I don't even recognize these places as cities. I thought, okay, well, I guess somebody's got to take out the trash and pave the roads and cut the medians or whatever. I thought that's all it was. But you're talking about health and quality of life when it gets to, what my kids and I are drinking and my wife. This is sudden. It suddenly mattered.
Correct.
Well, you invested So just to give a little bit to our audience, what you've given is you live in a county, the county government runs the county, but then you want better for your community. So you get a charter and you create a city so that you can focus on the water and the quality of life for the citizens of that area. So you're paying more to live a better life. You shouldn't have to be stuck at the city commission meetings all the time trying to get them to do something that they should already be doing. They should want their community to be safe and they should want their community to have clean water. But because the low turnout, because people don't show up, they don't think it's important enough to work for Jessie. And Jessie needs to be the enemy of the city instead of being part of the solution. So, I mean, you can't make this shit up at all.
Are the Winter Springs commissioners, do they want Winter Springs to stay at this 92% homeowners, property taxes fuel the economy there? Are they anti-business? I
don't know if they would describe themselves that way or what they want. I think they realize that the only actual path forward is to address the issues that they've now been denying for years.
Correct.
So it's like once you start down a path, you really have to apologize for everything that you had previously said in order to reverse course.
Mm-hmm.
And once they believe, the one commissioner that we've since replaced, that this is all just a conspiracy that exists in the mind of Jessie Phillips and Ken Greenberg. That's once they bought that. Well, now everything that we've said, as it's been validated, for them to accept it, basically is an apology to the voters that they've now been misled. Right. And they just haven't had the ability to do that. I think they would love to have more businesses there, but nobody respects them enough, and everybody feels like if I do approach them, they're going to run me through the ringer, because they very effectively demagogued on that issue of painting these evil developers, and using phrases like that.
Right.
Look, nobody wants an area overdeveloped, but we're talking about bringing a business into an existing commercial space. You're not talking about new development at all, but that's the perception that now exists from people who won't do business with the city of Winter Springs.
So,
wow.
My question is, and I'm sorry, I'm ignorant on this because I should be very smart. When it comes to annexation, I mean, you have areas that use your name because of the post office. What is the city looking at? Have they looked at possible annexation of those retail spaces?
Yeah, but why would you, as a commercial property owner, agree to pay more in taxes?
Right, but there's less. The businesses don't have the vote. See, that's the thing.
Yes, a business does have to vote to allow itself to be annexed. So if I'm a developer out in an unincorporated adjacent to the city lines of Winter Springs, I have to consent to that. And so the city has to make a compelling argument to me of why that's in my financial best interest, which the city is not even trying to do.
Well, that's why I'm saying I wanted that out there, because this is like they have not presented something that says you need to be here because we can provide better services.
What are they going to say? Hey, we'll provide your water. Now everybody knows the water's terrible. Well, I'll get my own water. I'll dig my well.
This just, you can't make this shit up.
Jesse, you said that there was a county commissioner that was with you and your organization to talk to the city council. Are there other allies that can bring or have brought more attention to this issue?
Absolutely. State Senator Jason Broder got involved and told the committee in Tallahassee that approved the audit that something like 90% of this is his own town. So a state senator just asked the state to audit his own town where he grew up. And, he told the committee in Tallahassee that something like 90% of the constituent complaints that he gets in his office are people in Winter Springs complaining to him
Wow.
about issues. And he told them, we've got to do something about this. I'm
Exactly.
tired. I remember the gist of what he was saying, that he was tired of getting these complaints, and said, hey, why of all the cities, I mean, it's a big district, the state Senate district includes
it is.
Volusia County and others. Why would 90% come from one city? That
That's
told him
significant.
there's a problem.
Because
Right.
92% of them are paying taxes.
And this issue would cause property values to go down. Thus, the tax base for Winter Springs would.
It would if it's not
Sure.
addressed. I mean, I think the property values have been rising, but that's a product of the overall, market that we're in. But yes, I mean, all other things being equal, the public knowledge of these things, might make somebody not view Winter Springs as being as desirable. I think what I've heard from countless residents is that, yeah, we have these issues, but we're glad that somebody's fighting for them and feeling
Good.
it's because of what the state is doing, that there is a sense of, okay, at the end of the day, even if it takes the next election, these issues will be addressed. And I think longtime historic residents of the city of Winter Springs that I'm in, that will respond to me. Some of them don't like my tone or whatever that I use, but everybody feels like, okay, this is how democracy works. And
Sure.
and at the end of the day, these issues, whether it's through term limits or whatever, people don't tend to stay in office forever. And eventually adjustments are made.
Are there term limits for?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so for the three that are on the council that are reluctant for any change, are they?
They're not termed out.
They're not termed out.
They're not termed out. No,
Okay.
they have a few more terms if they were to run again
Okay. When are they up for election?
in 24.
Oh, okay.
It correlates with the regular 2-year election cycle in November.
Okay. So there
A big
will
turnout
be
ones.
a lot of people turning out.
Big turnout. I like it.
Wow. Big turnout. How are you and your organization, your supporters, your allies, getting the word out to more people in Winter Springs? And does this affect other communities? Is this an issue that you're seeing in other communities?
Not anywhere near this. Look, it's hard to run a utility. You have issues. There's impurities that you have to deal with. So every municipality, deals with aging, infrastructure and things like that. So I'm sure that city managers, for some reason, and the other 6 of the municipalities in Seminole County don't have these problems.
Mm-hmm.
So they've figured out how to do it. But I'm sure that the problems, as I talk about them, are things that everybody faces. As far as how we're getting the word out, we have a monthly meeting on the second Tuesday, right there in Town Center. And then we have an email list of people that have wanted to receive our email updates. We have social media, and we've been able to build a lot of good relationships with some of the more influential people in the community
Excellent.
over time who have appreciated what we're doing. So yeah, we can get the word out a number of different ways.
It's good.
They got
That's
they got a very lively Facebook page. So, and they allow people to actually respond on that page. Never mind, that's a different story for a different
It
day.
would be hard to be against censorship while you're censoring people. That would kind of question our credibility.
So you've had to install a whole house filtration system?
We have a series of filters in our house that are purifying the water for us.
Wow. I used to live in a community where I needed a whole house filtration system, so I know the expense and the work that goes into
Yep.
that.
Hey, it's for our health. I mean, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Jesse, we thank you so much for this conversation. This is the stuff that we need to be talking to people about.
Yes.
People need to know how local government works. This is why we have this organization, and we thank you very much for being here. Tell Resnick he has to be on. He has to come.
Yeah, I mean, you just told him.
I'm just saying.
I'll share this with him
he
right
needs to-
on the air.
He needs to come because you know what? He can give us some insights. He used to be a commissioner. He's back on the commission. Thank God he's back on the commission. Really, really caring individual. And
He's one of the good ones.
Yep. So
For those people who want to learn more, who live in Winter Springs and want to contact the Facebook group or contact you, how can they contact you?
Our
the group?
website. Our
Okay.
website's One Winter Springs, so ONE wintersprings.com.
Okay.
and they can go there or just look up our Winter Springs on the Facebook group.
Okay.
Is the name of the group. That's probably be the best way.
Excellent. Great. Thank you,
Awesome.
Jesse.
Thank you. Thank
This
you
is
guys for
great.
having me.
We thank you very much. And what do we want to what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about one last thing? Political salsa is coming up in
July.
July.
Yep.
I want to say June in the worst way. I want it over with. No, it's coming in July. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be down in the held down in iDrive. It's a part of iDrive that needs that kick, and we're excited about it. So if you're interested and you want to get the word out to your Latin community, tell them that it's coming up, Jesse, because it's going to be a fun time. And it's not just for the Latin community. It's going to be a free time. You're going to get to go to Roboland, see Roboland if you haven't even known it exists yet, but it's a fun time. AI and
robotics
and a robot that won
virtual
second place.
reality, virtual reality, augmented reality.
You'll bring
a great
the family.
opportunity.
You'll bring the
We'll
family.
be there.
Fun.
I've been
Yes.
there before. It's a
Yes.
great event.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And you can't make this shit up, David.
If you all want to hear from a specific person or talk about a specific issue, please let us know. Make a comment in our comment section. Go to our website, reach out to us. However, hey, we could bring more people. I have a list of people we want to talk to. Joel has a list of people he would like to talk to. So let us know. Please like, share, and hit that notification bell.
Especially if you're from Winter Springs, because we could absolutely give you some very good entertainment. Thank you.